Good morning, Pat.
Hey, Chris, how's it going?
It's great. It's great to see you.
Thank you. Same here. Great to see you.
Yeah, so we were just talking for a little while before we started recording, and I think we had some really good breakthroughs, for me anyway. We were talking about an interaction between two people where one person is bearing their soul, and maybe there's some pain, or often there's some pain. And how would the receiving person act or behave, or what would they say? And I thought you had just the perfect let's say I statement, because I love I statements. And an I statement is, I feel this way, and maybe you add on to that, what I would like from you is, and instead of saying you should have been this way, or why don't you try? So can you, without mentioning names, can you redo the scenario with your friend?
Yeah, I can try, certainly. So the two words we were starting out with was inquisitiveness versus curiosity, and what the difference in those two things might be. So I have a friend who sadly I've labeled a little bit this way, inquisitive, because she often has lots of questions about personal kinds of things, related to something that she knew about, about me, about my family, or so forth. And it's like she'll start asking the questions almost a little bit like an interrogator, kind of like, so what about you so and so? What are they doing? How long, have they been doing that a while? And so I'm very uncomfortable with that kind of dialogue. And particularly because I love this person, and they've been wonderful to me in many, many ways. But I think what I was sharing with you earlier was that I think it's sort of cultural that we're info gatherers. It's very important to have all the information so that we can make a good decision, and so forth and so on. And those things are important in some cases, but they're not important, it seems to me, when somebody begins sharing at a deeper level, more intimate details about their life. So what we talked about is, how do we do this with people that we believe would like to know these things, because it brings us closer to them, to know more about us at a deeper level. So we were thinking, you don't just launch into something, which is, by the way I might do it, like, okay, so where's that coming from? I'm launching into some personal stories, particularly related to alcoholism and dysfunctional family kinds of things, my own, that I was brought up in, and the one that I created to match the one that I was brought up in. So anyhow, so we were trying to figure out, how do we do this? Because we want people to know us. Can we make a statement before we share? And of course, it makes sense to do that. So then the person can respond to whether or not they think they can hold this sort of space around, I'm going to start sharing here at a level that I want to share with you. However, I don't need any fixing, advising, setting things straight. I don't need that. I really need, if you want to know who I am, for you to just hold my experience, and with an open heart. So that's a long statement, but I mean, it just makes sense that we might do that instead of just dropping the the load, so to speak, the mother load. Here it comes.
And it's so helpful to the other person, because I know that I want to be able to respond in a productive way to somebody who's bearing their heart. And sometimes I get nervous that I'm going to make it worse by whatever I say. And then I realize often I really don't need to say anything. Maybe I can call on God's presence right now that I know this person's going to be exposing something important, and let the silence do its thing.
I think that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, but I really, really appreciate your proactive direction to somebody. This is what I would like from you, because it's very, very helpful.
It is. It is. And there's such power in that experience of, being able, it's each time, at least this has been my experience, and I think I've heard others say the same. Each time we sort of download or unload this jumbled mess that's inside of us, with someone who simply holds that experience, is not going to offer anything other than love and compassion, empathy. It's a gift. I don't care who the therapist is in the world. They don't do anything ever more than that. And if they're doing that, then that's a good therapist. So, I think back in the day, back in the community villages and so forth, this is what they did regularly. They just all bared their souls, and everybody held them and put their arms around each other. And, oh, you that happened to you too. Oh, I understand, whatever. We're returning to that. We're returning to that. I believe we're returning to that. I think it's our saving grace to unload and have others share our burdens in a way that isn't asking them to fix it, to do anything, but just to recognize it as real, and love the person who's having that experience. I mean, I just think that's where it's at.
Yeah, so maybe I could, somebody that I have challenges with, maybe I could say, I'd like to talk to you about something, and I really don't want you to respond verbally at all, but I would like you to hold me in your heart.
Yeah.
And just not say anything.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what I want most of the time. Because I mean, I've got a brain. I can think about, if there's a solution to be had, I can think about it. I can try it.
Yeah.
But many of our most profound difficulties in life don't have solutions.
That's right.
And sometimes they're very circuitous and camouflaged. But when I've several times in my life, out of the thousands of maybe millions of times that I've expressed myself, so I've had several times where people just were present. And what that does to me is that it feels like it's empowering me to come up with my own solutions.
Absolutely. And maybe at a level we don't understand, that open-heartedness, that holding of someone's experience as they're sharing it, that somehow powers up, to use a modern term, powers up the person who's speaking's ability to seek those answers. So maybe, it's like almost engaging the hearts of others exponentially, strengthens our ability to do that. That's very possible. I think it's possible.
And I think that when we know we're being listened to, with an open heart, an open and loving heart, and no answers or solutions are coming back, sometimes we can find our answer much more quickly, because there was a listening ear that is, what's the listening ear? What's the dynamic there? It's kind of like it's kind of like coaxing it out without.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm still hung up on thinking that, in fact, it opens up the bigger consciousness, the
Mm.
bigger consciousness, God consciousness, whatever we want to call it, because the other person is not getting their intellect slash ego in the way, looking for an answer. So maybe that is, maybe again, we're returning to the village concept. Maybe in the village, when the people sat around the fire and Jojo, says, I'm sad about, I lost, I didn't get the meal for supper. I was supposed to, I know I was supposed to, but I hunted all day and I didn't get it. And I felt a terrible burden. I didn't get it. And then the group is holding Jojo and it says, okay. And then that's all right, Jojo. Look what I found and we have now to eat. So there's this compassionate connection that that holds everybody up and together.
I have I love to watch shows about people living in the wild, back to the earth kind of people.
Yeah.
And yeah, these guys can go out either by themselves or in a small group for days
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
endure incredible weather and a lot of difficulty, a lot of discomfort,
Yeah.
and come home empty-handed. And I think that there is a what do you call it when a pathology is handed down over the generations? It's kind of like um
An imprint.
yeah, and I really think that we are still dealing with that kind of shame. I mean, I know you didn't mean to bring that up to be the centerpiece here, but I do think that that's kind of a really important to think about, especially with boys and men, that there is this inherited mandate that they're the provider, and
Mm,
and all the pressure
mm,
and the shame
mm.
and um and the idea of being responsible for people going hungry or letting people down. uh
Sure, sure.
I
I
really
don't
think
think,
that's
yeah,
huge.
I think it's huge too. But I don't think that men are the only ones that are affected by that. I think women, we spoke about it earlier, I think, before when we started recording, and that is that women also have their own burden to carry, which is, are they meeting all the right conditions to um, as a mother to a family? And if they're not, what does that mean about them? And they're graded and so forth and so on. So I mean, I mean, sure, I agree with the man thing, but I think all of us, the whole species has a mandate to show up, do the right thing, there's no room for humanity. There's no room for failure. There's no room for, I don't know how to do this. There's no room for that. You either do it and do it right, or you're cast
Right.
aside.
And I agree completely. And there's no we don't have a vocabulary that says, um, I tried so hard to provide for my community and it just didn't happen. And I feel like I let everybody down. No, they don't do that. They go inward and become self-punitive. And
Absolutely.
it's just,
Absolutely.
we need to talk about it. We need to.
How about just that statement? That I love the statement. You did your best.
Mm.
You did your best. You really did.
And everybody is disappointed in their life from time to time, and it's natural and it's okay.
Yes. It is. Particularly if, you know, you've got people around you who can remind you of that. If you don't, it's a little bit harder. But I think one of the things we're trying to look at here is how do we give ourselves the things that we're expecting from the external world? And, you know, the importance of that, obviously, because for the obvious reasons, the external world is continuously shifting, and it likes you one minute, doesn't like you so much the next. So how do we, you know, how do we get very centered in ourselves and recognize and give ourselves the love, recognize the love we need, and then give it to ourselves? I mean, that seems like, you know, just an epidemic of people who are unable to do that.
I agree. And again, I'm so grateful that you brought up the prelude to an important sharing thing. The prelude being, I'd like to share something with you. It's going to be difficult for me to do it, but I think important for me to do it. And what I really want from you is to listen to listen with love, but really to not say anything at all.
Right. Right.
Because well, you could end there, or you could add on, when I know that you're listening to me with love, it empowers me, and I can find my own solutions much much more easily.
Yeah. And then I guess the next question on the end of that is that something you think you can do?
That's a really good piece too. Yeah.
Because if we don't give that opportunity, I mean, somebody might say, I'm not sure.
Well, I can think of one person who I dealt with in the past who would say it sounds good, and then 24 hours later they might say, did you think about this and this to solve that problem? It's like, I'm out.
Yeah.
And what's the message there?
Well, I mean, I think people are coming from a good place when they do that. I mean, let me rephrase that. Good, coming from a place of wanting to be helpful. And because this is the fix it culture, you know, let's fix it and move on, because we want you to get back to where you need to be. So it's, you know, it's very culturalized to be thinking about somebody's problems and then offering some kind of solution. And what it does, and you pointed to it earlier, is it actually deflates or shrinks, same word, deflates and shrinks, the other it's like saying to the other person, I don't have confidence that you're going to figure it out. I've got your answer for you. So the other person can do one or two things. They can get very dependent on that person, you know, to give them all the answers they need to get. Or it can do this as first, maybe initially, or not secondary, is the idea that the listener has no confidence in there's an amazing crow up in the tree here. That the person has no confidence in that speaker's ability to work through their issue. Because then the person can say, yeah, I guess I don't know, you know, they could take it a lot of different ways. But one way
we can heal ourselves and we can do it much faster if we have spiritual and loving human support. Totally.
I've got to tell you though, there's two crows. So what they're doing is they must be making a nest, because one got a branch, a thin branch, maybe this long, went up the tree. Ha ha ha! I got my branch. The other one down, he keeps picking up different branches, and I've never seen crows doing that before. He's walking all over the place. He tests the branch, then he goes, nope, nope, something, really something. Crows, you know what? I've never met a person who doesn't like crows. I know this is off subject, but everybody I speak to go, I crows great.
Well,
So
you know,
really,
they have families and communities, and they help
yes.
each other out.
So maybe we're saying if we could only be more like the crows.
Yeah. And another thing I wanted to bring up
If
was
we,
the we shared quite a while ago was I think it's called the Ubuntu tribe, I think in Africa.
yes, Ubuntu.
Ubuntu,
Yeah,
yeah. So what
you
they
are.
do is
Yeah.
when someone has made a mistake or done something wrong, they they put them in the middle of the community, and every person in the community says something wonderful about them
Positive. Yeah.
from their
Yeah.
heart.
Yeah. It's great. It's
I
great.
mean, I can't think of anything better than
Either.
for
I can't either.
healing.
The person in the middle starts weeping and weeping because they're
Well,
feeling
yeah,
love.
yeah. I can
Great.
even feel
It's
it
great.
coming up because
Yeah.
I mean, that's never been, I don't know of anyone who's ever experienced that, but what a beautiful and productive way to accelerate the healing process.
Absolutely.
And I think of
Absolutely.
Jesus, let the person who has no sin cast the first stone. We all have been there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then if you have that Ubuntu experience where people, maybe that's something we think about, have this collaboration of people saying, well, I know this about you. You always do what you say you're going to do. Whatever.
And when my
And
mother was sick, you came and gave her something once or whatever.
yeah, yes. And then that's a benchmark or a reference point from then on in to recall it, to recall, oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
Beautiful thing.
Yeah. Let's start an Ubuntu group.
What a great idea. We could have a monthly Zoom Ubuntu group and
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely. Of
I think it's a great idea.
course, the thing about it is everybody would have to have some knowledge of the other people in the group, so it has to be a group that, comes together knowing one another, at least to some degree, beforehand, because
Yeah,
otherwise it would be hard for them to say they know this or that about the person, these good things. Of
yeah,
course, there's some good things about everyone,
that's
even if
right.
you don't know them.
So we were entertaining another unrelated question,
Yeah.
which I heard just recently, which was, um, what would you ask of Jesus now?
Mm-hmm.
That really made me think.
Yeah. I have to turn my fan on 1 second. There's smoking in the building and it's just
Oh,
irritating.
okay.
I can smell it big time. I'm actually going to get some spray.
Okay.
So irritating. No smoking in the building. It's a joke. Anyhow, so you just brought up the question about what would you ask Jesus?
Yeah. If you could now. I mean,
What would you?
of course we
Okay,
can. Any
let's
of us
start right
can.
here. Let's start right here. What you brought it up, so you get to be the first one to ask
Yeah.
the first question.
Well, my after being kind of dumbfounded for a moment, my question was, um, how do I open my heart more easily?
I think Jesus would respond to that. You just did.
Ah. Yeah, it doesn't take a huge amount of effort to I mean, going from a brain-centered egoic state to a heart-centered presence sometimes feels like it's miles away for me, but it's really like that. I can just do it like that.
Yep. Yep. Okay. So now that you have that information, what is the question?
Well, the question was how do I open my heart better, and so I answered my own. Well, maybe Jesus had something to do with the answer too. Maybe he had everything to do with the answer. But I now have the answer, which is just do it. Open your heart. So what's your? Do you think of a question?
I just like that though. I just like what you said. Do you suppose, all right, the question for Jesus. Okay. It's funny, I can't think of a question for Jesus. What the heck? I can't think of
Well,
a question.
it's not. I'm not at all surprised because that's just not something that
We do.
that I've done. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a good thing to do, but it never occurred to me to do it.
Okay, I do have one for him. When will I cease holding myself accountable for pretty much everything? I mean, when will I cease holding myself accountable for all for yeah, I mean, I guess, I mean, it sounds like I'm exaggerating to say everything, but I think that's how I can be. I think I can be that way. But there's probably something much more deeper than that. That's just sort of what I notice.
So I wonder if.
Oh, I got a better question. I'm
Okay.
gonna refine the question, Jesus. I'm sorry, I'm only a beginner at this. So I'm gonna refine the question to why do I need girls all day long without ceasing from the external world? I'm gonna get a sweatshirt that just says "add a girl" on it. Or a tattoo or something, maybe.
I mean, both really great questions, and if you'll indulge me, I'm going to read this
Sure.
thing that we talked about this morning,
Yes, please.
Which may or may not be relevant.
I'm sure it's going to be.
My journey inward has been the awareness of an endless series of thousands of humble moments made of triviality, judgment, resentment, and blame that opened my door to God. I am not ashamed of these awarenesses of my false self. They are natural to the process of being human, and they are universal. They have shown me the signposts to bliss, made of gratitude and pure awareness of the presence that is more powerful tender and consoling than anything I have ever known.
Mm. And what did you call that statement you had? Did you have a term for it?
I may have, but I don't remember.
Well, we could certainly call it spiritual reflection, right?
Yeah. I saw some poetry about Thomas Keating talking about um the humility of recognizing our um, our brokenness at every turn, and how that's
Mhm.
a pathway to God. And it just started making
Yeah.
me think. I mean, I don't think it's the only pathway to God, and I need to redo that little whatever it is, because it's certainly my shortcomings are certainly one. Recognizing my shortcomings are certainly one pathway to God. The humility that comes with um realizing um how human I am. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm never going to graduate to being perfect or anywhere near that. And that's not a bad thing. I mean, people aren't meant to
Mhm.
be perfect.
Right. Right.
Otherwise, they would have been made that way.
There'd
Um,
be there'd be no room for growth. I mean, it would be a flat, there wouldn't be any push pull to it. It wouldn't, why would we even care about living?
it's a very good point. And I remember decades ago, I had a friend who said, I can't believe in God because of all the horrible things that have happened in history. And I was thinking to myself, where would which imperfections would you get rid of first? And where would you stop? If you were God, which imperfections in human life would you get rid of first?
I don't think
Um,
God would even see them.
hmm?
I don't think God would even see imperfection.
Hmm. Well, I was thinking, which imperfections would I get rid of? Okay, so I'd certainly get rid of um, uh, violence and harm to children. Um, but then would I get rid of death? I mean, what would happen if we didn't die? That would be pretty scary.
Well, this body here, yeah,
We just live forever. I mean, that's kind of like freaks me out. That idea freaks me out.
totally.
And I don't know. I mean, there's a heck of a lot of bad stuff that happens in this life, but I don't feel equipped to weed out the wheat from the chaff in terms of improving it.
Yeah, yeah, I don't either. Um, yeah, it's a perfect design. I mean, as far as pain goes, like you were talking about, I think what I got from what you said just a moment ago was, that it's through our pain that we reach out to God.
Hmm.
And that brings up an interesting thought because I know for myself that I'm less um less thinking, less trying to connect, less um determined to have a spiritual connection with the divine when I'm comfortable. That's just, and that's problematic because why?
Hmm.
Why aren't I as much saying, oh, thanks God? Sometimes something like, oh, thank you, God, thank you for that. I don't don't do that. Like, I could be thanking God right at this moment. Look at how beautiful this is, this exchange, you know? Am I? Well, now that I brought it up, I'll thank him. Thank you. But so I don't know. I don't know if we're designed that way, or it's cultural. I mean, maybe there's cultures that are very grateful and thankful for the divine, even when life is full of joy. I mean, I mean, yes, I've thanked God for happy things. I'm not saying that, but the emotional dial goes way up. The emotional please help me dial goes way up when I'm in pain. Why can't I give that same amount of energy to the grace that fills my life at every moment? You know, I think I take things for granted. I think I take a lot for granted.
Well,
And
yeah, I mean, being human means taking things for granted.
yeah, well,
And
I wish.
I don't know. And then also, were we meant to sit in judgment of what is productive and what's not, or
Right.
what's, because, I look at my life, and some of the most painful things that happen to me are really responsible for making me who I am now.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so, and I'm living into my authenticity very deliberately. That's my spiritual journey is
Mm.
sort of designed to live into my authenticity, because I feel that our authenticity, that's where God lives. God lives in our authenticity.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
so I can't say, oh, this tragic thing that happened to me shouldn't have happened,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because it's part of my DNA. I mean, it's part of what
Yeah.
makes me me.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
And or that horrible thing, shouldn't happen to anyone. Well, who, who knows the answer to that?
Right. Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Suffering, though. So, just reflecting a little bit on Christ's death, suffering on the cross, along with two other human beings, whom we don't talk about very much.
Yeah, I love how you said human beings and not criminals.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's something to think about a bit, not today maybe, but that's suffering. The message is life ends in suffering, or suffering awaits everyone. I'm not sure. I want to just touch back, though, on your statement, your spiritual reflective statement, or whatever we want to call that. Maybe anybody watching this could think about that. What is, how would they capture their spiritual journey in a few hundred words or less? Those would be interesting to look at and to see how much they are alike or different. I have a feeling they'll be alike.
Mm.
And so you were commenting on yours that it was through the suffering that change happened.
Well, yeah, the
Yeah.
suffering, and also I get negativity comes to mind. That's not the perfect word, but
Yeah.
resentments, blaming.
I think that'd be a common theme in these what has been your spiritual journey? Well, it's been about this and this and this. And I think they would be mostly trials and tribulations,
Mm.
you know. So is that because the good things didn't happen? No, it's not because the good things didn't happen. They did happen. Each time we overcame a trial or tribulation, a good thing was happening. So I think we leave that, we don't give that as much credit or attention as we do the more difficult things. So that's something to think about, like, why do we do that, and could we do more of the positive reflection, and begin to cultivate that way of moving closer to God, moving closer to our spiritual selves.
Oh, there we go. Your picture was frozen for a couple of minutes, but you're back.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I mean, I've learned to spend less time trying to figure out the purpose of things, because I have not found that process to be very fruitful.
Yep. I'm not saying that you should do that or we should do it. I'm saying that maybe we could give more credence and more attention to the positive. That's all.
So for instance, when you say the positive, is the positive things that happen in our lives, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think yesterday, earlier, it seems like yesterday, I was telling you how I shared my little journey into finding Alcoholics Anonymous and becoming sober. I remember when I was telling that story, sharing that stuff with this person, that I also earmarked each time I made a progress. So then I was able to do this, and then I was able to do this. So I showed it wasn't just a sad story and boy, what a tough thing that was for this person. I also, while I spoke, was integrating the gifts that I had received in my journey. And that's really important, I think, is what I was getting at even earlier here, that I'm very, very good at telling you all my sad stories. I mean, I get a lot. You get some time, I get a few sad stories for you. But as I've gotten healthier or more spiritual or more centered in my heart, I want to be sharing, and I think I'm better at sharing this other part that is, like we do this, we come together and do this. I wouldn't have done this back in the day. I wouldn't have had a bit of interest in doing it. So what are we doing? We're simply sharing. I think this is just my take on it. We're sharing who we are, who we really are, within reason.
And what's really cool for me when this happens is I learn more about myself from our dialogue together.
Yes.
And I learn new things about myself.
Yes.
Now, if that's not a mystery, I don't know what it is.
It's not what we're setting out to do, I don't think.
No.
That's not in my mind. I do say, though, that well, to speak for myself, I do this because I do feel I'm uncovering things. I hadn't thought of it so succinctly as I was trying to uncover things about myself. But of course, that's what it is.
Well,
and to learn more about you and to know more about you.
Yeah, so there's something, there's some kind of alchemy with like a soul friend, like you are, that emerges in me, that is, it's pretty awesome. I mean, like, since we've been doing this since October and it's now March, there's just maybe it's a little self-discovery, a little acceleration on moving along the spiritual path. That's not really the right way to say it, because I think of accelerating as getting ahead, and I don't think of the spiritual path as something you get ahead on, but
How
some
about deeper?
yeah, deeper, right? Yeah, yeah. Maybe it's not getting ahead, maybe it's going down deep.
Right, right.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
um
yeah.
yeah, so
I think it's great. I wonder if I could share before we, close. I know we're going to do that soon. I think I've done this a couple times now. This is that book,
oh yes.
Everyday Wisdom. So today, the little paragraph is on bringing love. Every block to love lies in your heart, and it is there that it must be dissolved. Don't wait for heaven to come to spread your love around. Do it now. For heaven is in your eyes when you see with acceptance and compassion. It is in your hands when you reach out to help. It is in your mind when you see good instead of evil. How you see the world determines what the world will be for you. So do not seek to change other people or the world around you. Instead, look at yourself, look at your beliefs, and you will see where you need to bring openness. Look into your own heart, and you will know where you need to bring love. Boy, I didn't think it was going to fit today's thing as well as it did, but sure enough,
It's perfect.
it's perfect. Bringing love.
Well, another great holy compost.
Indeed. I think we're going to grow some pretty dynamite flowers and vegetables this summer.
I think so too. Some super veggies.
Oh gosh. Artichoke hearts. Those are biblical, I think. Let's do those.
Definitely. How about avocado? I gotta grow an avocado before I die.
I think it's great.
Okay, my dear friend.
Right. Okay, we'll see you soon.
See you soon. Another holy compost.
Thank you. Bye
Bye bye.
now.